Yes, my people, it is your boy VRD, and we are back here for another commentated drive. Today, the announcer keeps interrupting me. Oh, anyway, as I was saying, we're down here at Reigate Station. We're going to be doing our return journey up to London Victoria. I'm recording this on the same day as the other recording that I did from Victoria down to London. What did I just say? Victoria down to Reigate, I beg your pardon. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. We're doing a cute little nighttime run. I've synced up the game time with real time. It is currently 2016 in real life. I'm going to apologize in advance if the mic picks up any background noise as well. I have a full house at the moment, but I'll try to pause the game when any background noise does occur and just edit it out. But I'm sure the mic is going to end up still picking up background noise, so I'm just going to warn you guys in advance about that. Our train up to London Victoria is due into Reigate in about 2 minutes time. It's going to have a 7 minute turnaround time before we take it back up to London. On our journey, we will be calling at Redhill, Merstham, Coulsdon South, Purley, East Croydon, Clapham Junction, and finally London Victoria. A journey time of just under an hour. So with the introduction out of the way, let's sit here and wait for our service. And there she is. She's a beauty. She is a beauty. Little cute four carriage. So I'm just going to immediately enter the cab and take command of this train from the AI. I'm going to set the DRA and just wait for the dwell time to elapse. After that, the game should go through the end of journey sequence thing. I just need to click on return to free roam and then it should reset, and I should have taken command of the service up to Victoria that will commence in 7 minutes time. So there we go, return to free roam. And okay, it hasn't done it yet, but I think when I go to the other end it should say scheduled to commence at blah 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 whatever. So going to turn off the headlights, ensure that the tail light switch is in the auto or on position. I'm then going to move the FNR switch into the off position and remove the master key. Then going to check the safety system isolation switches. Because this train was being driven by artificial intelligence just prior to this, the safety system isolation switches are in the isolated positions, so we don't need to touch those. Now going to exit the cab and just check the tail lights, ensure that we have two red tail lights being displayed. Now going to make our way up to the other end of this four carriage train, and we are due out of Reigate at 8:30. We're now up at the other end, just taking a glance at the tail lights. We should have two red tail lights being displayed. If we do not, then we need to snitch on the driver that was just driving this, because that is very bad. Going to enter the cab, just configure these doors correctly. This is not how you would find the cab in real life. These doors would be configured in this manner, not the manner that we just came across them in. That is ridiculous. I'm not sure why the game does that. Set the DRA, turn the three safety system isolation switches into the normal position, those being AWS, DSD and vigilance. All the other isolation switches are not functional. We're then going to sit in the driver's seat, insert the master key, move the FNR switch into the neutral position and acknowledge the AWS self-test sequence by pressing the AWS acknowledgement button. We're now going to turn the headlight switch into the night running position and ensure that the tail light switch is in the off or auto position. We're now going to come over to the passenger information system, click on PIS, click up and continue clicking up just to scroll up to, in fact we passed it, so I'm now going to click down. And there it is, London Victoria, which is our destination. We then click confirm location and click exit. We now Quickly take a step outside of the cab just to glance at the front of the train, ensure that everything is being displayed correctly. So our headlight, the brighter light, shines from the driver's side, and the LED style light shines from the non-driver's side, which is the night running configuration, which is correct for the conditions that we're driving in. And our destination display reads London Victoria, which is also correct. Just have a look at our schedule card now. Redhill, Merstham, Coulsdon South, Purley, East Croydon, Clapham Junction and London Victoria. Scheduled arrival time is at 9:18, so about a 50-minute journey or so. Okay, let's head back into the cab and await our scheduled departure time of 8:30. See you guys in a bit. Okay, so we're down to 60 seconds prior to our departure time. As you can see, our platform starter signal has cleared to a green aspect, so I'm going to reset the driver reminder appliance. Now going to open the right hand cab door, just look back along the train, and once it gets to 30 seconds prior to our departure time, I will whack the door close button. Doing that now. Just observing the doors closing. You don't have to come outside and do this, you can do it from inside and look at the monitors obviously, but I'm just doing it for the sake of it. Doors have closed, closing the cab door, observing that the door interlock light is illuminated there. Taking a final glance of the signal and the monitors there. F&R switching to forward, and because this is the start of our trip, I'm going to test the hill start button. Just holding down the hill start button now, moving the PBC into the off position, observing a brake cylinder gauge reading of 1 bar, PBC into power notch 1, waiting for about a second, then releasing the hill start button, and the brake cylinder gauge reading should fall to 0. Now going to increase the power to notch 2. Speed limit departing from Reigate is 15 miles an hour for us, and that is because we are going to cross over back onto left hand running. So this train has obviously come in from Redhill and is now heading in the opposite direction, so is required to cross over to be on the correct track. So that is why we need to be doing 15 miles an hour, although it isn't marked at this specific crossover, but I do know that the speed limit is 15 miles an hour there. And once we are clear of that crossover, the speed limit will be increasing to 70 miles an hour. So we should be clear of the crossover around now, so I'm going to make a power notch 3 application, and that is to accelerate up to 30 miles an hour. At 30 miles an hour, I will perform a running brake test. We're up to 30 miles an hour, so I'm moving the PBC back into the off position momentarily. Then making a brake step 2 application. Once the speed reduces to 20 miles an hour, I release the brakes, acknowledging that AWS audible warning there, and moving the PBC into the power notch 4 position to accelerate towards 70 miles an hour. And that AWS audible warning was associated with that warning board for a speed reduction down to 20 miles an hour. So once we reach about 50 miles an hour, I'm going to move the PBC back into the off position just to stop accelerating, because I really don't want to be forgetting about that 20 mile an hour speed limit. And I'm going to make a brake step 1 application about now, just nice and early. I do struggle to judge the correct braking location for that specific speed reduction on the approach to Redhill station, but there are 2 bridges that you'll pass on though that are quite spaced out. They're hard to make out now because we're doing a nighttime run, but in between those 2 bridges is a good point to get the brakes in. So we're down to 30 miles an hour, down to 25. I can't really see the 20 board, but Who cares? Down to 20, so I'm gonna release the brakes. I think the 20 board is coming up. Yeah, I can just see it now. So I jumped on the brakes a bit too early there, but it's nothing too major. So yeah, we're down to 20 miles an hour in good time. And you can see at this signal here, there is a display with the number 0. That tells us that we've been routed into Red Hill platform 0. And our speed has slightly rolled above 20 miles an hour. That is because we were on a downward gradient, but it's now changing to an upward gradient. So maybe accelerate down to 17.5 miles an hour. This dopey slow-minded guy really said accelerate down to 17.5 miles an hour. Oh my goodness. Instead of 20 miles an hour. That's my fault there. Acknowledging the driver. Oh gosh, background noise. Acknowledging the vigilance device there, because no controller input was detected for 60 seconds. And here we are entering Red Hill Station. The 4-carriage stopping position is not too far beyond the end of the platform canopy here, so I'm just getting the brake step 1 application in from now. And I can see it coming up, although it is quite difficult to make out. It kind of blends in with the passengers here. But yeah, here it is. Just now I've been using short bursts of brake step 1 to achieve an accurate and controlled stop. There we are. Now that we've stopped, brake step 3, neutral, and door release on the left. And we've now got a 6-minute wait until our scheduled departure time from Red Hill. So catch you guys in a bit. Right, so we're down to 30 seconds before our departure time. Checking the signal, green, monitors, pressing the door close button. Door interlock lights have illuminated. Checking the signal and the monitors a final time. F1 now switching to forward. And straight into power notch 1 because we are on fairly level terrain here, so the hill start button isn't really needed. Up to notch 2, then up to notch 3. Speed limit is now 40 miles an hour. Next station is Merstham. So the speed limit is shortly going to increase to 70 miles an hour, then 80, then 90. So I'm just starting to reduce the power now, just to maintain a bit of an acceleration rate without breaking the 40 mile an hour speed limit. So we just passed the 70 board there. So now that we're clear of that board, I've gone into full power. We're now passing an 80 board. But we are not going to reach 80 miles an hour before we need to put the brakes on for Merstham Station. So I normally get the brakes in for Merstham Station between the AWS magnet associated with the upcoming signal and the upcoming signal itself. We also just passed the 90 board, so the speed limit is now 90 miles an hour. So I'm shutting off the power now. I can see the signals approaching. There's the AWS magnet, and I'm getting the brakes on about now. And Merstham Station is just around this left-hand curve here. Just getting ready to increase the braking force to brake step 2 I might not need to. So we're aiming for an entry speed of 30 miles an hour, which we are going to achieve. So brake step 2 most likely isn't needed. We are on an upward gradient as well. And the stopping board for 4 carriage trains is just beyond the canopy. So I'm going to momentarily select brake step 2, reduce it back down to brake step 1 just to have a nice controlled approach to our stopping position. Apologies for all this background noise as well. I almost swore there. I'm gonna have to pause the game after I stop. But yeah, just using brake step 1 to come to a nice controlled stop. There is 3 to 6 carriages. We are 4 carriages, so we fit into that category. Full service, neutral, door release on the left. Right, we're down to 30 seconds prior to our departure time. Green signal, checking the monitors, pressing the door close button. Door interlock lights have illuminated. Glance at the monitors again, glance at the signal again. F and R switch into forward. I'm on a slight upward gradient, so I'm going to move off using the whole start button. And also taking a final glance of the monitors as we move off. That is something that I keep forgetting to do, which is quite bad. You want to look at the monitors as you're moving away as well, just in case there's something that you missed. So I've gone straight into full power. Speed limit is currently 90 miles an hour. Next station is Coulsdon South. This is Merstham Tunnel that we're entering now. At the other end of this tunnel, we are going to, just acknowledging the vigilance alert there, at the other end of this tunnel, we are going to hit the summit of this upward gradient, and we will then be on a downward gradient all of the way into East Croydon. This background noise is ridiculous. I've picked the wrong time to record. Oh my goodness. I really don't want to start again. Anyway, we're exiting Merstham Tunnel now, and speed limit will be reducing to 75 miles an hour very shortly. There's a warning board associated with that speed reduction. Where is it? Yeah, it's just coming up now. You can see the warning board there. So I'm going to shut off the power as we pass that warning board, and I'm going to make a brake step 1 application around now, so around the area of this signal, down to 80 miles an hour, 77, 76, 75. So maybe brake slightly earlier than that, because yeah, I entered the 75 mile an hour speed limit 2.5 miles an hour faster than I should have. Anyway, as we can see this signal coming up in the distance, I'm going to get a brake step 1 application in for Coulsdon South. You can see the downward gradient is severely affecting our ability to decelerate. I'm going to increase the braking force to brake step 2. 50% braking, I should say. Back down to brake step 1, just trying to get that 30 mile an hour entry speed into Coulsdon South. Yep, 27 miles an hour, perfect. Behind the yellow line, but oh my goodness. Anyway, just bouncing between brake steps 1 and brake step 2. There's no stopping mark for 4 carriage trains, so I'm going to use the final pillar of this canopy here as my reference point. So I'm going to put that pillar in the left porthole window. Oh, there we go. Full service, neutral, door release on the left. Am I recording? I always do this, you know. Yes, I am recording. That would have been very, very bad if I was not recording. Very bad. In fact, I would not have attempted to record again for today. Actually, maybe I would have. Maybe I would have. But the way I'm feeling right now, I don't know. I just feel very motivated today. So I'm just trying to get as much content worked on as I can. Anyway, 5 seconds prior to our departure time. So green signal, monitors, door close button. Door interlock lights have illuminated. Green signal, monitors, forward, and we're on a downward gradient, so we don't need the whole start button. Power notch 1, then straight up to power notch 4, and glancing at the monitors again as we move off. Speed limit is 75, increasing to 80. Next station, Purley. This background noise is horrid. It's horrid. I'm praying that when I watch this back to edit it, the background noise isn't too. I'm hoping the mic hasn't picked it up too much, because this is actually a fairly decent run, nice and laid back. I am quite tired, but I'm not really fumbling the commentary too much because I had a big cup of coffee before recording this. So it would be quite a shame if I have to go back and do it again because of something silly like background noise. Getting overtaken by Gatwick Express class 387 over there. That would have come from Brighton, I believe. Anyway, now that we're up to 70 miles an hour, I'm going to make a brake step 1 application for Purley Station. And I'm acknowledging the audible AWS indication that is regarding a warning board for a speed reduction down to 60 miles an hour. And that speed limit comes into force just before Purley Station. So you can see Purley Station coming up in the distance. Down to 35, so I'm going to release the brakes. I did jump on the brakes a bit too early there. Because I'm recording, I'm driving a lot more cautiously. I'm quite scared. I don't want to embarrass myself. So that board that we just passed with the number 80 there, that is incorrect. That should say 60, but the developers have messed it up and they have not gone back to update it. So I just made a brake step 1 application shortly before entering the platform here at Purley, so that brought us down to 30 miles an hour on entry into the station. I'm now bouncing between brake steps 1 and 2, and again just using the final pillar of the canopy here as a reference point because there are no stopping markers for 4-carriage trains. There we go, brake step 1 for the stop. Full service, neutral, doors on the left. And we are on time. It's a very nice and laid back service, the Victoria to Reigate service. I do enjoy driving it quite a lot. especially the late night runs like this. This is very chilled out. So we're down to 15 seconds prior to our departure time. Green signal, monitors, door close button. Green signal still, monitors forward, power notch 1. Glancing at the monitors of final time, straight up to power notch 4. Speed limit is 60 miles an hour. Next station, East Croydon. Sorry, I was trying to hold back that sniff, but I couldn't. It was very uncomfortable. I had to sort that out, but that shouldn't happen again. Right, now that we're up to 57 miles an hour, I've shut off the power. That is due to the fact that we are on a downward gradient still, so our speed is going to naturally roll upwards towards 60. This is Purley Oak Station that we're approaching now. We're not stopping here. Just keeping an eye out for anyone too close towards the edge of the platform so I can blast my horn at them. But there was no one in such a state, so look at me trying to speak all formally. I'm just sounding like a complete total donut. So I just acknowledged an audible AWS indication regarding that double yellow signal there, but the signal immediately changed to a green aspect just after I passed over the AWS magnet. We now have another double yellow signal. This one is most likely going to change up to a green aspect as well. Yep. So that means that we are following a train 2 signal spaces ahead of us, and that train is currently traveling at a similar speed to us. Just acknowledging these AWS indications. Okay, so that signal did not clear to a green aspect, so I'm going to begin braking, just applying a brake step 1 application. This is South Croydon Station coming up. And you can see this signal has cleared to a green aspect, so I'm going to release the brakes down to 45 miles an hour. Although I'm not going to accelerate back up to 60 because the speed limit is going to reduce down to 45 miles an hour very shortly, and East Croydon Station is also coming up. This is a double yellow signal aspect. Now the signal spacings on the approach to East Croydon Station are very close together. So if this signal is displaying a single yellow aspect, I need to be prepared to stop very quickly. So I'm just looking at it now. Yep, it is displaying a single yellow aspect. So I'm aiming to be doing 20 miles an hour as I go past it. Just releasing the brakes there momentarily. And we can see the red signal protecting East Croydon Station coming up. So just making a brake step 1 application as I pass over the AWS magnet associated with that signal. So the train ahead of us is currently stopped in East Croydon Station. Just reduce the speed down to 10 miles an hour. I'm just going to creep towards the signal in hopes that it will change before we have to stop. Now that we're getting a bit closer, I'm going to reduce the speed down to 5 miles an hour. 2.5 miles an hour. There we go, single yellow. So I'm going to take power notch 2 and accelerate up to 20 miles an hour for our entry into East Croydon Station. So we're up to 20, moving the PBC back into the off position. And I'm going to make a brake step 1 application shortly after entering the platform. The 4 carriage stopping mark is next to this lift. Ooh, actually not a brake step 2 momentarily. Back down to brake step 1. Where are you? Uh-oh. Okay, there it is. Lovely. Full service, neutral, doors on the left. So I got excited for a sec because I thought I was gonna land on the stopping mark using just that 1 brake step 1 application, but nope, I needed a brake step 2 momentarily, and then I ended up staying in brake step 2 for too long, so I almost ended up having what is known as a stop short, which would have annoyed me. It could be easily rectified by applying a bit of power just to get moving a bit to creep forward, but I don't like it because it hurts my sense of accomplishment. Anyway, that's enough waffling. We are already due to depart from East Croydon. We have a green signal, glancing at the monitors, door close button. Glancing at the monitors again, green signal still, forward, power notch 1. Glancing at the monitors a final time, and the speed limit is currently 45 miles an hour. It reduced to 45 miles an hour from 60 miles an hour next to the single yellow signal that we passed on the approach to East Croydon Station. So the second signal out from East Croydon Station is where the speed limit reduces to 45 miles an hour. So I'm just using power notch 3 to accelerate up to 45. I'm actually in fact only going to accelerate up to about 42 miles an hour, and that is because our speed limit is going to reduce down to 40 miles an hour very shortly, and we're going to enter a upward gradient, so I'm going to end up needing to apply a bit of power to maintain the speed. So you can see we're entering the upward gradient now, very visible there. That is extremely steep, and there's our 40 board. 40 over 30, no, 30 over 40, I mean, so freight trains do 30, passenger trains do 40. So just using power notch 1 momentarily there. And we are now due to cross over onto the fast lines just before passing through Selhurst Station. So I'm making a brake step 1 application. The speed limit for that crossover is 30 miles an hour, but we're on a severe downward gradient at the moment now. So I'm going to reduce the speed down to about 22.5 miles an hour. So here's the crossover now. You see the little board down there saying number 30 with the arrow pointing to the left. And the signal that we passed not too long ago had 5 white lights pointing diagonally upwards to the left, telling us that we've been routed over onto the fast lines. If you just had the signal without those lights, you'd be continuing on the slow lines. So once we've joined the fast lines and are clear of once we are clear of the point work and have joined the fast lines, the speed limit increases to 70 miles an hour. So I've now made a power notch 4 application. Next station is Clapham Junction, by the way. I'm not sure if I said that. And and I'm going to accelerate up to about 67 miles an hour, because the gradients between here and Clapham Junction vary a bit, but it's mostly on a downward gradient. So yeah, about 67 miles an hour in a 4 carriage train should maintain your speed at 70 miles an hour fairly well. Let me word that a bit a bit differently. So if you shut off your power at 70 miles and 67 miles an hour, around when you pass through Thornton Heath in a 4 carriage train, you're gonna keep to 70 miles an hour the majority of the time. Thornton Heath station was the last station that we passed through. Norbury station is coming up now. We got a bit of an upward gradient going through Norbury, but then it goes back to a downward gradient just after passing through Norbury. So our speed's going to reduce slightly, but then continue to accelerate afterwards. You can see my commentary starting to die down a bit. See, this recording session took a lot longer than planned because of the background noise. I had to keep stopping and pausing. See what I mean? What? Right, sorry about that quick edit there. And I've forgotten what I was talking about. I think it was something to do with the speed limit, but I can't remember for the life of me. But anyway, we're on a downward gradient coming into Streatham Common Station here. So our speed limit it's rolled all the way up to 70 miles an hour. We might momentarily exceed 70 miles an hour, but as long as I'm within the 2.5 mile an hour threshold, it should be alright. In fact, no, I don't think we are going to exceed 70 miles an hour, thankfully. So what I'm doing is known as, what is the word for it? I forgot the word. Is it economic efficient? I think it's economic driving, efficient driving. And that's basically where I'm aiming to be in the off position for as long as possible. So I'm trying not to accelerate or brake. I'm just trying to use the off position to maintain the speed. So that is why you can see we've been in the off position since Thornton Heath, and that just helps reduce the power consumption and also reduce the wear and tear on the train's brakes. So yeah, that's a little fun fact there. There's a lot of tricks that I need to show you guys regarding economic driving. I don't even know if that's the word for it, but yeah, there's a lot of places along certain routes where you can stay in the off position for a very long period of time and maintain speed, and this is one of them. Anyway, speed limit is about to reduce to 60 miles an hour. What I'm actually going to do is decelerate down to 50 miles an hour. So we just passed the 60 board there. Now the reason I'm decelerating to 50 is because after Balham station, which is this station here, we're going to hit another steep downward gradient, so that should cause our speed to roll up towards 60. So this is Balham station now. So you can see we're up to 55. This is Wandsworth Common Station that we're passing through now. And we're not too far out from Clapham Junction as well. So we can see that we now have a double yellow signal in the distance. If this specific signal is displaying a double yellow aspect, that means you have been cleared up to the end of Clapham Junction platform. So I'm just making a brake step 1 application as we pass that signal. This signal is displaying a single yellow aspect. This is the signal protecting Clapham Junction station. So like I said, that means we have a red signal at the end of Clapham Junction platform. So I'm just going to aim to enter the station at a slightly slower than normal speed. And I don't want to be going over the AWS magnet associated with the signal at the end of the platform at no faster than 20 miles an hour. And we're down to 20 just with the help of a short burst of brake step 2. Back down to brake step 1. And again, just using the end of the canopy as my reference point for the stopping position, because there are no markers. So releasing the brakes for a second, back up to brake step 1, releasing again, creeping towards the stopping position. Brake step 1 brings us to a nice controlled stop. Brake step 3, neutral, and the signal has cleared to a green aspect, so we don't need to set the DRA. If that was still displaying a red aspect, you would set your driver reminder appliance. Let me open the doors before the passengers start thinking something's happened. And we are still on time. Fancy that. Okay, so 21:11, our scheduled departure time. Green signal, monitors, door close button. Door interlock lights have illuminated. Green signal, monitors. Forward, and we're on a downward gradient, so we're not going to use the whole start button. Into brake step 1. Glance at the monitors of final time. And up to brake step 3. It honestly just gets worse, guys. I meant power notch 3, okay? Not brake step 3. Speed limit is currently 60 miles an hour, but will be reducing to 45 miles an hour not too far from here. So there's no point accelerating up to 60 miles an hour. I'm going to have a slower rate of acceleration up to 45 miles an hour. And we just passed the warning board regarding the speed reduction down to 45 miles an hour. So we're up to 45 miles an hour. I've moved the PBC into the off position. And we are shortly going to begin climbing. We're going to swoop over to the right and then swoop over to the left to pass over the southwestern lands over here. So speed limit has now fallen to 45 miles an hour. We're now beginning our climb. So I'm going to use a bit of power notch 1 just to maintain 45. We're now passing over the southwestern mainland. The southwestern lands, I should say. And just as we enter Battersea Park Station here, I'm going to shut off the power because that marks the summit of our climb. We're now momentarily on a downward gradient and then the track levels off as we cross over the River Thames here. at Battersea. This signal being green indicates that we have been cleared into London Victoria Station. If that signal was a double yellow, that would mean that the signal protecting Victoria Station is currently red. This signal is a double yellow. A double yellow aspect is the least restrictive aspect it can show. It cannot show a green aspect because of how close it is to the end of the line. So I always make a brake step 1 application at the AWS magnet associated with that signal. Speed limit has now fallen to 40 miles an hour, but like I just said, because of the brake step 1 application, that 40 mile an hour speed limit is more or less irrelevant because you'll be doing below 40 by the time you reach it. We are assigned to London Victoria platform 16. So speed limit fell to 20 at the signal protecting London Victoria Station. I've decelerated down to 15 miles an hour, and that was all done in one clean brake step 1 application from when we were still on the bridge crossing over the River Thames. Once we got down to 15 miles an hour, I released the brakes, and the downward gradient that we were on helped us accelerate back up to 20 miles an hour. By the time we reached 20 miles an hour, the track had leveled off, so our speed isn't going to exceed 20. Here we are entering Victoria Station now. Because this is a dead end platform, I'm reducing the speed to 15 miles an hour on entry into the station. About 4 carriage lengths away from the buffer stops, I'm going to reduce the speed limit. I'm going to reduce the speed down to 10 miles an hour. And these decrements in the speed are just done with a short burst of brake step 1. And about 2 carriage lengths away from the buffer stops, I'm going to reduce the speed by 5 miles an hour again. And then from this point, I'm just going to use a series of brake step 1 applications to help us achieve a nice and controlled stop, aiming to stop as the buffer stops disappear beneath the windscreen. Perfect. Arrival at London Victoria Station, full service, neutral. We are at the end of the line, so we set the DRA, and the platform is on the right, so I'm going to get up, cross over, and activate the door release buttons on this side of the cab. I'm now just going to let the game go through its end of journey sequence very quickly. I am exhausted. Sorry. Right, there we go. And I'm just going to go through the shutdown procedure of the cab. I won't go through the change in ends procedure because I did that on the journey to Reigate. So, F and R switch, remove the master key, turn off the headlight switch and ensure that the tail light switch is in the auto or on position. Yeah, auto or on position. Ensure that your windows are closed, ensure that your windscreen wiper isn't on, and turn the safety system isolation switches into the isolated positions. AWS, DSD, and vigilance. Like I said, the other switches are not functional in Train Sim World. Exit the cab and take a glance at your tail lights. You want 2 red tail lights to be displayed. And that is the end of this commentary run from Reigate to London Victoria. I'd like to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I am going to bed. Constructive criticism is more than welcome in the comment section below. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Love.